Our ministry team for this year is picked so that we may believe. And it's wonderful the way Father started it last week. He brought it right out in front of us. That God loved us so much, that he wanted to marry us. And I'm going, wow, boy, did that hit home, hit hard. But what are we doing if God is saying he wants to marry us? Are we saying yes to him? And how are we saying yes to him? This is a really long gospel, and it has a lot into it. So I wanted to unpack just a couple little things. The rich man, it's the story of the rich man anyway for the gospel, really is just talking about how the guy comes up and done everything he could possibly do to enter eternal life. And he knew it because he was a devout Jew, and he was going to go to heaven if he followed the 10 Commandments. And at least that's what he thought. But, he had to know what Jesus was talking about because he knew where to find Jesus. And Jesus was talking about more, but he wanted to hear it from the man. So he goes and talks to Jesus, and right away, probably Jesus knew exactly what he was going to say and knew that he loved him to death, but the man had to say it. So he said it. And Jesus told him, go sell your things. And that's how you get to heaven, eternal life. And in those times, in the time of the Jewish communities, when you got wealth, and you had much wealth, it was a blessing from God. It wasn't just, because you did good work or anything, but it really was from God. That's what the blessing was. And now he's telling him, no, the blessing isn't from God because of all your wealth. You have to do one more thing. Get rid of it, follow me. So what's it mean for us? Wealth or things really don't keep us from heaven, but it's what's in our way sometimes, when it's a distraction, when our wealth becomes more important than our God, and that distraction keeps us from our God, no matter what we do. So our lives are much better when we stop the distractions. And then we went on just a little bit more. We talked about this eye of the needle, and about a camel trying to get through the eye of a needle. In the stories, we probably have all heard it before. It's this little gate going through the wall in Jerusalem, and that, if you strip down a camel, you can really push him through it. Lo and behold, that's a fairy tale. I didn't know it. I thought it was just a real story. Of course, I've never been to Jerusalem, so I don't know. It really is just a fairy tale. And what it really means is a needle, and we try to pass through that needle. And it works really hard for us to do that. Because one time, I found out actually that the Aramaic, it was Jesus' language, was camel and rope are really close in hard to distinguish apart. And we were trying to push a camel through there, but it was even harder to try to push a little rope through there. I can barely push a thread through a needle, let alone a rope. So we talked about this eye of this needle, and I had this spiritual director one time, many years ago, very wonderful, loving priest, probably my age now. He was probably about 25, and I was talking to him, and I said, Father, how do I get through this eye of this needle? This is a great passage in the Bible, and how do I get through this? I'm doing these things, I got baggage. He says, pray, and pray. I'm going, wow, it's that easy? All I got to do is pray? He said, yeah, pray. And then the older I get, I'm going, wow, maybe prayer isn't all it is when I keep reading this passage over. Maybe I do need to do other things. And so, maybe I need to do stewardship. That time, talents, and treasure thing that we have to do for our parish. Maybe I need to add that into it. Maybe I need to add the prayer, the time, talents, and treasures, and then I'll be okay. I said, well, I'll be okay. And then I'm going on, it's got to be more than that. It's really got to be more time, talents, and treasures in prayer. So the last couple of weeks, Victoria, my wife, and I, we went to Washington, D.C. on vacation. Wonderful chance to get away, what is it, in over a year? To go on a week vacation to Washington, D.C., and just enjoyed everything that we could enjoy in Washington, D.C. And that's where things started changing on how I felt about time, talents, and treasures in prayer. I got to we went to all these Smithsonian museums. They're all free. You can just either get tickets ahead of time, or you can just go up and they check your bag and you can go in and see all these different wonderful museums that we have there. And so we did like the Washington Monument, we went up that, looked around and said, oh, this is fun, we'll come back down. And then we went to like the Science and Industry and Natural History, and then we went to the American History Museum. And I get to the American History Museum, just kind of hanging around, not thinking that this is going to make any difference in my homily. But I get to the American History Museum. How does the American History Museum correlate to all this? Is I walked in, and we'd seen all these wonderful artifacts throughout our history in America. And one of them, we walked into this room, probably as big as over here, and it was just blackened, kind of dark. And as I walked up to it, it was a big flag, just beautiful, old flag. Come to find out, it was the original Betsy Ross flag that she sewn in 1812 and 1813, and it hung over the battles that Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem about. And it's right there in front of me. I'm still in awe. It still hits me like unbelievably hard how beautiful it was. So that's where things became a little different. I'm going, wow, maybe there's something more here in these museums that I need to pay attention to. Because I was just being the good husband, going around the museums and, yeah, this is nice. But when I got there, it was just a total different story. We went to the Library of Congress. We saw Rosa Parks' big display that's there about her life story. We went to the Native American Museum. We went to the African American Museum, and we'd gone to the Holocaust Museum before, and then we went to the Native American Museum, and things started to click. I started to get it. And this is where I thought Jesus was telling me to go today. We have done all these things in our history. Wonderful things. From all the artifacts that I saw in the American History Museum, to saw the Holocaust, the Native American Museum, the African American Museum, and how unkind we have been to our people in this country. And it all works together. We should work all together. But we've been so unkind that we had to have a museum about it. And I think that this museum, this unkindness, is not what Jesus wanted. He wanted us to love one another with all our hearts, our minds, and our souls. And he truly is trying to express that as part of our baggage to get rid of. So when we have this kindness, we're not going to repeat our past. And that's, I think, our goal for us, is saying this yes to Jesus by remembering that all we have to do is be kind, pray, and stewardship.